this conversation forward with Dushyant Dave, senior advocate, joining me on the broadcast. Mr. Dave, appreciate you taking the time out and joining us here on Mirror Now. Just to begin by asking you, the first question, of course, would be how do you react to this legal order?
Well, it is, I think, absolutely a just and equitable order. It's a very legal order. And I think the Supreme Court has done what was really expected of it to do, because there is no doubt in my mind that the order of the trial court, and particularly the order of the High Court, with greatest respect to the learned judge, was perverse beyond imagination. And I mean, there is no question that the High Court should not have passed the order which Supreme Court has passed today. And it is only because we are now seeing across the country that the judiciary at lower levels is unfortunately unable to really withstand the pressure and, protect citizens, including opposition leaders. That people have to rush to the Supreme Court, and the entire burden is now falling on the shoulders of the Supreme Court to protect citizens and politicians. So I think it's an extraordinarily good order. It is really a welcome order. And I think, speaking for myself, I had expected no other order from this bench, because both the Justice Gavai, who's presiding the bench, is an extremely fair judge. He's a very equitable judge, and he's a very, very transparent judge with brilliant knowledge about law. So I think this order is definitely the right order. And it's time that, people of this country know that what is happening, unfortunately, where opposition leaders are being targeted. Every day we see that opposition leaders are being abused virtually by leaders of the party in power, and nothing is being done about them. But when the opposition leaders say something which is innocuous, or trying to make a point, then they are saddled with this kind of criminal defamation cases. So I think this is really a good message for the country, that here is the highest court of the country which is willing to stand up and protect, opposition leaders in our democracy.
Mr. Dave, as you welcome the order and you also talk about how opposition leaders are being mud in such legal situations, I would like to, bring your perspective on what Rahul Gandhi had also reacted to this matter, saying that this was a way of arm twisting into an apology as well.
Yes, absolutely. There's no doubt that this was clearly a way to intimidate, and this is happening across the country. Let's not go into specifics, but there is an atmosphere of fear which is being created today. And in fact, as perhaps you may have seen a clip where one of the honorable ministers in Parliament virtually threatened opposition members with ED raids. That really shows what's happening. It's the arrogance of the party in power, or it is an atmosphere of fear, whatever you call it. But it is a matter of great concern for us citizens who love democracy and who want both ruling party and opposition have a role to play. And they must play it fairly. So that, the country is protected in the most beautiful way. Democracy survives in a healthy way. It's a vibrant democracy which we must maintain. And citizens shouldn't feel that, our political system is getting into some kind of a dirty fight, which is really undesirable, because, we have a great future, this country. And I don't think it should be marred by some political statements which are being made irresponsibly from time to time. So I think this is a good message. And I'm sure party in power will now think seriously about I would say, consequences of trying to put pressure on the opposition leaders.
Mr. Dave, as you speak about that, of course, the question that is being asked at the moment is what is next for Rahul Gandhi, considering this is an interim stay? If you could help us better understand that, speaking legally.
Well, Rahul Gandhi has filed an appeal in the High Court. The High Court will have to hear the appeal, and, let us see what happens to that appeal. With this kind of a protection, now perhaps, or this kind of an order, the learned judges of the Gujarat High Court perhaps will, realize that a law must be applied very evenly, and law must be properly applied in facts of a given situation. We saw only 2 weeks ago, the same bench presided by Justice Gavai castigated Gujarat High Court learned judge in Tista Setalwat's case and called his judgment perverse. Now, that reflects very poorly on an institution. I in fact, belong to Gujarat High Court. I started my practice in 1978 in Gujarat High Court. I love that institution. I respect it. So, for me, it is very difficult to digest that we can have judges who really don't understand the nuances of law and their duty under the Constitution, that, you must give justice to people merely because the party in power at the center is against these people, be it Tista or Rahul Gandhi, doesn't mean that the judges should fail in their constitutional obligation to be truthful to their constitutional oath and not apply law properly and give relief to them.
I would also want to draw your attention to the remarks that had come in from Justice Gawai, going on to state that the ramifications are wide, not only petitioners' right to continue in public life affected, but also that of electorates who have elected him. So that, of course, brings me to the next question, that can Rahul return to Parliament immediately? Is that the case?
Well, he is entitled to under the order. It depends how fast the Honorable Speaker of Lok Sabha, acts and reacts to this. I have no doubt that he's an honorable man, the Honorable Speaker, and he would definitely, in deference to the Honorable Supreme Court, do what he has to do, because with great alacrity, he had Mr. Gandhi removed instantly, and the government with greater alacrity had him, vacate the house. Which were all, very unfortunate situations. I mean, heavens would not have fallen if they had waited for a few weeks more to give Mr. Gandhi a chance to, persuade the Supreme Court to protect him. So I think those actions also show that there is some kind of I would say, arbitrariness or some kind of overzealousness on the part of party in power. And I am shocked that constitutional functionaries like Speaker of the Lok Sabha did not, give sufficient time to Mr. Gandhi to get a stay from the Supreme Court, and for government to have asked him to vacate the house, while large number of people who, who should be thrown out of their government accommodations, which we see, are continuing to occupy them. So I think that I have no doubt the Honorable Speaker would now perhaps do some serious introspection and act upon the desires, wishes, and letter and spirit of the order of the Supreme Court.
Mr. Dave, before I let you go, just to talk about what the Supreme Court did say, that the High Court did not give adequate reason for max sentencing. So if we talk about defamation cases and this particular case, if you could help us better understand that.
No, I mean, if the court felt that the High Court has not given sufficient reasons despite giving a big judgment, because ultimately, criminal defamation requires a very, very serious, charge, which must be supported by serious material to establish that, yes, somebody has been defamed. Because, this is a very, freedom of speech is extraordinarily important in a democracy, not just for a politician, for every citizen. And we cannot muzzle citizens, freedom of speech by bringing about these kind of criminal defamation cases, as is happening across the board today. So, it's something which the judge of the Gujarat High Court should have been extremely careful about. When you have to balance between, the right of an individual to speak in the context of democracy and right of an individual who claims that he has been defamed.
Mr. Dave, I'd have to interject you there, but thank you very much for getting us your perspective on this. Let's go across to the